How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Got a lot to get into here today on the program. Mike Sempervive returns. We had a very busy weekend. UFC, Bellator, WWE's coming up next weekend. Obviously, as we talked about for much of the show yesterday, the tragic death of Silver King in a match in London. We can talk about all of those things on the show today. Raw preview, SmackDown preview. Raw is in the UK. London, England, in fact. Actually, just happens to be in the site of the death of Silver King, at least in London. And they're going to be doing, obviously, tapings for the show. And so we will, I guess, know the spoilers later in the afternoon, which means Vince can't change it. 5 o'clock p.m. because the show's going to be pre-taped. So that's coming up here today. We've got SmackDown taping notes for tomorrow as well. Jack Swagger, who was on the show last week, Jake Hager, he had his second Bellator fight and won handily and then cut a very strange promo afterwards. I got the full lineup here for the Money in the Bank show. Conor McGregor, you'll never guess, off the hook again in another legal situation. Incredible how often that happens. But we could talk about all of that here today on the program. The phone number, 844-411-5411. That is toll-free, 844-411-5411. You can send your text messages to 425-780-7566. We'll take phone calls, emails, and text messages throughout the show here today. And if you happen to watch the opening round of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, what did you think of the Shingo versus Sho match? I have not seen the match yet. I have seen a bunch of tag matches that Shingo and Sho were involved in, and they are absolutely incredible in the ring together. And I was told that the match they had, the singles match in the Best of the Super Juniors, was absolutely an incredible blow-away match that will be questionable whether any other match in the tournament can, I guess, exceed the level that these two achieved here in this match. So we'll talk about that today. Take calls, emails, text messages, and more. Kicking it off after the break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Got a lot to get into here today. We also talked a lot on the show yesterday, particularly about the death of Silver King. So you can check that show out later on today if you haven't heard it yet. The biggest new news that we hadn't talked about as of yesterday, WWE has announced 3 matches and revealed the name for their next show in Saudi Arabia. It was announced today that Goldberg and The Undertaker will face off for the first time ever at WWE's show in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Friday, June 7th. Show's taking place at the King Abdullah Sports Stadium, is named WWE Super Showdown, which was the same name they used for the show in Melbourne, which is Down Under. That's why they called it Super Showdown. So now I guess Saudi Arabia is down under as well. This will be the first time Goldberg has wrestled since WrestleMania 33, April 2017. Triple H, Randy Orton, official for Super Showdown, a match we have never seen before. And there will be a 50-man Battle Royal at the event. Super Showdown, third event, WWE's controversial 10-year deal with the Saudi General Sports Authority. It will air live on the WWE Network. Roman Reigns, Kofi Kingston, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, AJ, and Brock also advertised for Super Showdown. I want to mention very quickly here that there was a deal on our board the other day. Somebody posted, and they posted this story that they'd heard on the internet, that Fox was demanding that Goldberg beat Kofi Kingston so they could do Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar when they moved to Friday nights on SmackDown. And I think that most, I'd say probably, I don't even know how many, but I think most people probably figured out that that was not a real story. But it was amazing that somebody read something on the internet and they just ran with it. It's posting it all over the place. On our board of all things. So, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, especially something like a story where Fox is making decisions about who's going to be champion leading into the show in October. So there you go.
What day is the show here? June 7th?
It's June 7th.
So that's a Friday?
I don't know what day it is, but it's June 7th. That I can tell you.
Trying to get out of seeing the show.
You have to see it in one way or the other.
If we have to see it live, it's
Well, we're not going to see it live.
Well, it was on, wasn't the last one on when we were doing the show?
Yeah, I believe it was. June 7, 2019 is a Friday. So there you go. The sun will rise at 5:25 a.m. that day and set at 8:25. A 15-hour day, 0 minutes.
Every time you get up, you may be seeing a text from me. I may be sick that day instead of having to see the Undertaker and Goldberg.
I highly doubt that match is going to be the one. Well, maybe it will go on right during the show, but show starts early in the morning. I'm obviously not going to watch it live. It's just not possible, but it is on that day.
What do you think it'll be? Those guys just looking at each other for 6 minutes and we get about 1 minute worth of physicality? Or what do you think we'll get here?
It should be a short match. It shouldn't be long. But it probably will be longer than it needs to be.
Do you think the match will be longer than the entrances? Or what do you think actually is longer that way?
I think the match will be longer than the entrances, but not a whole lot longer, I hope.
See, I want to drive some interest in the show because nothing that they're going to do on it is going to make
You want to drive interest in the Saudi Arabia show?
Not really. I'm trying to do something that will give me some interest in it, and maybe like really wacky gambling prop bets might be the way to do it because everything else that's got anything to do with this show, I don't want to see at all.
Isn't the biggest WWE news Seth and Becky, this person asks? Well, yeah, that's official. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are a power couple in WWE. It's all over social media today.
People love that stuff.
They've made it official. Seth and Becky have gone public with their relationship, this person says. There sure are a lot of WWE couples right now. Well, there should be. They're on the road together all the time. They're traveling together 4 days a week. It's kind of hard to... Well, you're going to go out to dinner with someone when you're in London and then they're just going to move to America and... I don't know. That's just the way things go. This person here says, so 2 old guys in a match we've seen 1,246 times for the Saudi event. What's going on over there?
Opening this Red Bull. I was trying to do it quietly, but I guess you found me.
Yeah, you can't wait till the break.
No.
Some numbskull on Twitter thinks Undertaker could take Goldberg and Jericho in real fights. Please confirm. I can't confirm that. This is stupid. Undertaker isn't taking anybody in a real fight right now. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but for crying out loud, the guy's 54 years old. He's not going to get in a fight with Goldberg or Jericho.
Where did Shootin' Taker come from?
I have no idea. All right, let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's up?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Mike. Sitting Duck, Vancouver Island. How you guys doing?
Yes. Solid.
Yes. Well, reason why I'm calling, originally wanted to call about that wild card, but what's happened recently with the Silver King death has kind of changed my subject here. I'm fortunate enough to get to wear the stripes and rep a little bit out here on Vancouver Island. And it's something that as much as it's, a fun, goofy thing to do, it's something I take seriously. And I don't think that ref in that match was taking it seriously. Yeah, I know he's a legend, yada, yada. He's repped a ton of matches. But it's literally painful for me to watch that video and just watch the ref with pretty much in his hands in his pocket. I want to know what you guys think. I know it's kind of the workers' responsibility to check on each other, but that ref, I can't even begin to talk about what he should have been doing.
Well, Sitting Duck, I want to thank you very much for the call. Sitting Duck's been around forever. I talked about this a lot yesterday, and I don't know what the referee was doing. I don't know what Hoovy was doing. I mean, somebody said that they thought, and I didn't see this in the video, but maybe this is what happened. Somebody said that they thought that when Silver King collapsed and he may have been dead at the time. He's just on his stomach and not moving. He never moved again. That Hoovy, I mean, I don't want to make a joke, but, I mean, like Kamala, he tried to pin him when he was on his stomach, and he was telling the ref to just count, let's get this over with, and the ref wouldn't count because he was on his stomach. So, I don't know if that's actually what happened, because I couldn't hear anything, but somebody said that they thought that's what happened. I mean, if that happened, I mean, what's going on here? I mean, just stop the damn match. You have to turn over a person who may be dead so that you can count the pin before you're going to do anything. It's ridiculous. I just don't know. I can't explain any of it. As a wrestler, I can't explain it. As an observer, I can't explain it. I don't have any idea what happened. Except two people's whole mindset was the show must go on. But I mean, even after he turned the guy over and the ref counted the pin, I mean, the referee still didn't call for help. He was there trying to communicate with Silver King. And Juvi's over there celebrating on the ropes. I mean, nobody got help. And then finally, after a while, another guy ran in, and then another guy ran in, and then finally they got the doctor in there. It's inconceivable that this happened, but it happened in front of our eyes in London in 2019. I don't know what to say about it other than that.
I don't have too much to add to it other than, there need to be better. I don't know how you figure it out on the independent scene and try to get everybody I don't know. I made it to as far as Juvi trying to turn him over, and then I heard you and Dave talk about it on the Observer show afterwards, and it's just the amount of time it took. It's like we talked about this with breakdowns in communications, and I can't remember when the last time it was with an injury. Come on, the ref, Juvi, the promoters. I mean, I know this. Obviously, thank God this doesn't happen all the time, but there's got to be some sort of universal thing put into place in times like this where it's like somebody needs to do something. It's sad that it's happened, and what else can you say?
Well, I got something I'm going to say after the break, because we talked about a lot of the solutions. I don't know if it's really a solution, but the idea of like having an ambulance or requiring an ambulance, and somebody called and said, could this be like a requirement around the world or whatever? And I explained that each state has a commission and each state would have to do this. But I do have a minor possible solution that would at least help. I'll talk about it after the break. Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. So this is not a solution to the issue of what happened with Silver King, but I believe that this would be a step in the right direction. And unfortunately, it cannot be universally brought into action. But maybe some promoters could consider doing this. So when I was wrestling back then in Washington State and Oregon, there was a wrestling commission. And so in order to wrestle on a show in these states, I had to get licensed. And in order to get licensed, I had to go to the doctor, get a physical, go to the Department of Licensing, and actually get a professional wrestling license. When I went to Ohio Valley Wrestling in Kentucky in 2008, they also had a commission. I had to get a license there. Now, the places I've wrestled of late, Chicago and Vegas and California, I mean, no commission anywhere. I show up and I wrestle. And so, point of this is, you can't, like, every single state is going to have to determine whether or not there's going to be a boxing and wrestling commission. And then every single state is going to have to determine what the requirements are. Do the wrestlers need to be licensed? Do you need to have an ambulance there? Do you need to have an EMT there? Like, these things are not cheap. Back in the 90s, it was a minimum like $1,000 to have an ambulance there and an EMT. And it's now 19 years later, so we're talking, I don't know, $2,000? What's it cost to have an ambulance there and an EMT onto? It's not cheap. And for these shows that, they draw 250 people, some of them draw less than that, it's cost prohibitive to have an EMT and an ambulance there. And that's in states where there's commission. So you're not going to just be able to demand that every state require licenses and that sort of thing. And once you get out of the country, it's a totally different matter. So my solution, what I believe should happen, and obviously this would have to be on the honor system, and each promoter would have to go out of their way to require this, but to me, every promoter who promotes professional wrestling all over the world, at the very least, they should require that in order for you to work on their show, you have to present them with the results of a sports physical. You go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to check your blood pressure, and maybe they'll do a blood test. They'll give you the full look over, and you have to pass your sports physical in order to wrestle. That's not even required right now in virtually everywhere that anybody is wrestling now. You just show up, your blood pressure could be sky high, and you could just show up and work a show because no one's monitoring any of this. If all of the promoters just said you could only wrestle if you give me, it doesn't have to be like on a regular basis. Back when I wrestled, it was you had to get it taken once a year. And granted, things could go very wrong over the course of the year, but I mean, once a year, I don't think it's outrageous to require that everybody get a sports physical once a year before they work on your indie show. That's it. And I remember like people would complain, dude, you know how much it costs to get a sports physical, especially if you need blood drawn? And it's like, well, too bad. Like, I haven't done I'll just give you an example. When I was on a bowling team back with Vinny in like the mid 2000s, I mean that's the last sport that I did other than pro wrestling or jiu-jitsu or whatever. I mean when I was on the bowling team, you think I just showed up and it was free? No, you had to buy a ball, you had to buy shoes. If you wanted a shirt, you had to buy a shirt, you had to pay into the league or whatever. It wasn't free. You paid a lot of money. You want to be on a soccer team? You think you just show up and play soccer? No, you got to get shoes. You got to get your outfit. Brian, no matter what sport you do, you have to pay into it to do it.
Hold on.
No, hold on a second. So if you can pay that to be on the bowling team, or if you can play that to be on the local soccer team, then you can pay to get a sports physical before you go into the pro wrestling ring. Period. I don't even want to hear an argument.
Well, you're going to get one?
Does your kid do sports?
Yeah.
Is it free?
No.
How much money do you got to pay for him to be on the soccer team?
Well, I forget how it's 60. I can't remember how much it is, the $60 or whatever.
And then what? He's got to buy shoes, right?
Yeah.
He's got to buy the outfit.
Brian, you're missing. You've gone off on a tangent. Yes.
Nope.
Here's why. Because great, you have that. Silver King has it in his hand that he had in January, or because this is the calendar year. He went last October. He got a clean bill of health. He goes, and that happens in that match. The breakdown that happened is still going to happen, and that's what the problem was.
You're right,
you
but
can
hold on
be
a
as
second.
healthy as a horse.
Hold on a
Go
second.
in there and have that. Hold on, and just because you can have the rest of it, just have that. And it's the problem is the breakdown where maybe you ought to book more. If Davey Richards is available, just have him there in case have an EMT crew with him to be around. Like that's really what matters,
Mike.
and having people trained to deal with situations when they occur. Now, if you want to put something on a promoter or put something on a wrestler, maybe it should be that. Like everybody's got to know CPR and everybody's got to have a basic idea of what happened and things to look out for in case it happens, because you can have that clean bill of health, go into that match and have something go wrong.
Mike, hold on a second. We don't have a cause of death for Silver King yet, but he was a 51-year-old man who had a heart attack or a stroke in the middle of a wrestling match.
Can I ask you a question?
No, hold on. Let me finish.
No,
Let me
guys
finish.
have had heart attacks. Healthy guys on basketball courts much younger.
So you don't think there's a possibility, Mike, that he would not have gotten a clean bill of health? You don't think it's possible that his doctor would have said, dude, you shouldn't be in the ring? You don't think that's possible? Because I do think that's possible.
Okay, that's possible, but now you're playing
Yes.
a hypothetical game of what if, when I'm saying a very clear line of maybe people should be trained to look out for things and to have an EMT there and those sorts of things, because if you're healthy or if you're not healthy, if something happens, the problem was the breakdown that happened with Hoovy, with the pin, and all the time that was spent wasted getting him out of that ring and getting some help to him.
Listen, obviously, I think there should have been an ambulance and an EMT on site. But 95% of your indie promotions are not going to have that. Yes, obviously,
Okay.
your referee should be trained in CPR, okay? But I'm not sure that any promotion is going to. All I'm asking,
Because no Mark Doctor
Okay,
exists.
you're right.
No,
forget
fake-
the physical. We don't need it.
Please.
Let's just.
You're right,
let
because
him
you
get
know
in
what?
there.
Technically, you would be right, but you know what? What stops somebody from getting it at the walk-in clinic down the street?
He can go into the walk-in clinic, and if they give him a clean bill of health, fine. Fine.
The same place the guy, X person gets his massive amounts of medication from, writes him up as being, this guy's completely healthy.
Well, yes, obviously, there are ways to get around the system. But I do think that everyone should get a sports physical before they get into the ring. I get one every year. If I go in there and I get my sports physical and they go, dude, you should not be in the ring, I ain't getting in the ring. Now, obviously, not everyone's going to be like that, but if somebody required it, the reason I brought up the soccer and everything like that is because I heard the same thing when everybody was required to get their physical in the 90s. I heard wrestlers crying about it. I can't afford to get the physical. I can't afford to get the blood work. Well, dude, if you were doing any other sport, you'd be required to pay some money to participate in it. So I don't think it's out of the question to ask people to get a blood test or a sports physical.
If you're promoting a show in the same vein, then I don't think it's too much to suggest if you can't afford to have an EMT there, then maybe you shouldn't be having a show where there's people that could break their damn necks.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
They're not going to have shows. It's professional wrestling.
Oh, my God.
90% of these promotions draw 100 people, 150 people. So you're asking $2,000.
You can't get the EMT in some of these local towns. They're not going to show up.
You have to pay for that person.
Yeah, you can't talk and negotiate and massage and do other things. I mean, I'd
love if you could, but I saw a million promotions stop running around here because they couldn't afford it. That's just the way things were. And it's more expensive now than it was in the year 2000. I'm just saying. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Heath in Concord, California. First of all, rest in peace, Silver King, and trying not to make light of that situation. But speaking of physicals and everything like that, Goldberg and Undertaker in 2019. What's up with that?
Well, they want to do a big match for Saudi Arabia, and the Prince wants to see the Undertaker, and he wants to see Goldberg, and they both like each other. They're both buddies, so they're going to have an easy match together. That's what's happening.
You think like 2 minutes tops on that match? Not much. It couldn't be more than that, right?
Well, if it's 2 minutes, that means that Goldberg's going in there and he's spearing and jackhammering the Undertaker immediately. And I don't expect that to happen.
I wonder if the Prince wants the Undertaker to beat Goldberg. I wonder if he's got any say in how it turns out. He's already booking the match for him, so...
Yeah, I also got Orton and Triple H on that card.
Yes.
Mean, that's
another random generic match we've seen 1,000 times. But hey, listen, they're getting paid $50 million or whatever for this show. So whatever this dude wants to see, they're going to give him. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to change titles necessarily. I mean, he's not going to be booking the show. But like, if he has matches he wants to see, they're going to give him the matches. So there you go.
I'm sure he's not booking the show. Sounds like he's booking the show. If he's giving them the matches he wants to see, we're going to give him a couple of finishes, too.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, right on. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks so much for the call.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. This person here says, actually, Brian, if it was any other sport, the company would pay for it. Oh, really? The company never paid for my bowling ball and my shoes and my shirt and Mike's kids' shoes and shirt and everything like that? You want me to call Filthy Tom and find out if the UFC paid for like all of his gloves and his gear and his mouthpiece and all of that? And his training? Nah, he paid for all of that out of his pocket. All of it out of his pocket. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. Hi, Mike. This is Brett from Chicago. How's it going?
Yes. What's up?
I wanted to talk about something with the upcoming AEW TV deal, and a talking point that I've heard brought up a couple of times, especially on this show by one of the callers, and this sort of naive excitement about this somehow spurring on competition with WWE and this leading to a better product and a better creative and all this sorts of stuff, especially with the show being what it is now. It's misguided. WWE already responded to the competition, and it wasn't with better creative. Their tactic in response to the competition was to start offering everyone they could contracts to get them to stop going to these other promotions. If their response to WCW was to have this edgier product to get ratings and pull in viewers, their response this time was just, how many of these people can we get off of the scene and off of the potential to sign with them? It's already happened. The competition thing has already happened, and this is what you get. You get NXT UK and 205 Live and all these other shows people don't watch, and talent stuck in 2-year deals. So I had to sort of temper that optimism that I keep hearing.
Hold on a second. You got to think about this. AEW hasn't even started yet. as far as like having a television show. I mean, they're running a show at the end of the month. They I guess you can consider AEW ran All In, but it really didn't. It was Ring of Honor. But anyway, the point of this is when WWE, when Nitro launched and a Monday Night War started, I mean, one of the big things that WCW provided that WWE did not was cruiserweights. And it's not like WWE immediately started a cruiserweight division. They waited like 2.5 years before they even launched their light heavyweight division. So, I mean, it hasn't even started. All they can do right now to react is to try to offer everybody double the money so that they don't go to AEW. But we don't know what AEW's television is going to look like. We don't know what their product is going to look like. All we know is what we've seen from like one show that wasn't even a full AEW show. We'll have a better idea coming up at the end of this month. But like whatever they do, it's going to have to first like be successful or what will be the word, critically acclaimed by the fans. It's going to have to be like that for a while before WWE responds and tries to copy things or change things. And I don't even have any faith that Vince is going to be able to change anything anyway. He always says he's got some new idea.
Right, that's what I mean, is there seems to be this optimism that there's going to be some big creative shift like there was in the Attitude Era when AEW gets started and there's real competition and all that kind of stuff. They've already responded to the competition. It was to try to stop it before it even started.
I know, but my point is...
I don't know where this optimism's coming from.
I want to thank you very much for the call. My point is there is no competition yet. It hasn't started yet, okay? Vince can say, oh my God, I'm going to change the house shows, or I'm going to shake it up and put the power in the people's hands, or whatever. He can say all that stuff and do it for a few weeks and then revert back. But there right now is no incentive for him to change, other than the ratings are bad. And they're trying to figure out why people have stopped watching. But until there's actually something on the other channel that people are getting into that is doing numbers, there is no story here. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. It's possible that if they get a Wednesday night TNT time slot in prime time and Chris Jericho is there and fans recognize Cody and they get into the different stars and the Young Bucks get over, I mean, maybe the show does 1.5 million viewers in a year. Okay, maybe it does 2 million viewers. Maybe it sneaks up on SmackDown. I mean, it's not impossible, okay? If that happens, then we can see what happens and how Vince is going to respond to this. Maybe he will really do something. I don't know. I know that I see changes every now and then. I praised him last week. They got rid of that stupid backstage announcer gimmick, and they just had guys talking to the camera and cut promos. It was 1,000,000 times better. Like, they can change if they want to. It's hard, and he's had no incentive to change since 2001. So, until there is real competition, we can't say, well, he's not gonna. We don't know till it happens.
This is true, and we'll see again. We'll see what day it's on, how it's presented, all that sort of stuff, because I'm not sure AEW is the answer that's going to make WWE change. You know, will they last long enough to change? We're going to have to see. This is a long game that's going to play out here, the same way that the long game we've gotten so far has led towards the ratings we've gotten when it comes to WWE and their attendance and their audience and those numbers, and they're still something that's going to play out too, but again, this is just the big speculation game when it comes to AEW, and it's fun to banter things about. And the only thing we know for sure is people that have wanted out from WWE, if they have not gotten out already, they probably are not going to. So really, it'll be interesting to see how those people are continuously played as well, too, because if WWE is listening, it seems to be pretty obvious that people don't want to see what's happening with the revival, so they can continue to keep shoving that down our throats, or basically just put them on ice, which they probably just should. You know, break them out, use them for every house show you possibly can, use them on TV to put a team over, use them on main event to put teams over, but continuously beating on them and making fools out of them isn't going to do them any good and isn't going to make anybody feel any better about the product they're presenting.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, guys. It's Kenny in Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
And today I am not going to rant about how awful the WWE product is, but I do want to rant a little bit about some of your listeners and this ridiculous notion that I keep hearing you mention over and over, that supposedly cord cutting is making the ratings less accurate. Now, I'm speaking as somebody who's been working in television broadcasting for 20 years. okay? So I know a little bit of something about this. Cord cutting has not made the ratings less accurate. If anything, it's made them more accurate. Because in today's digital age, with over-the-top systems, digital cable, and digital satellite, these companies that are operating these services know to the person how many people are watching any given stream at any given time. They can tell you exactly, minute by minute, what the traffic was on a particular station. Over-the-top services and digital programming have made the ratings more accurate. The only thing that we really even use Nielsen for these days is demographics, and even that is going the way of the dodo. Because now, with the data analysis and looking at programming across an entire account, you can build a pretty accurate profile of what somebody's demographic is just by the other stuff they watch on other channels. It's actually not that difficult. So I think everybody needs to get over this notion that somehow the ratings are not accurate. They are incredibly accurate. In fact, they're probably more accurate now than they have been, in the past 5 years. If anything, it's revealing how badly WWE is doing because, quite frankly, their product is garbage and people don't want to watch it. That's why the ratings are bad, not because of cord cutting.
Well, people don't like to hear that. And so they like to look for an excuse. And that's, I guess, the easiest excuse, that the ratings are inaccurate. Well, I want to thank you very much for the call. I hope everybody listened to that. Maybe I should just record that and replay it every time somebody asks some goofy question on email about the ratings. But yes, WWE ratings are down because there is significantly less interest in the product than there's been in forever. That's the end of the story. If you're a WWE fan, I know that makes people upset because it feels like what they like is not cool right now. And so they look for different ways to explain why, in fact, it is cool and everyone else is wrong. And the fact of the matter is, it's okay to like things that aren't cool. Do you hear what I'm saying, Carlito? It is okay to like things that aren't cool. Just like them and don't worry about what everyone else says.
Well, in the same
and deal
vein,
in reality.
In the same vein, another piece of reality is it's possible for a show to be the number one non-news show for the most part. I know there's other shows here and there on cable, and still be at a crossroads, I should say, of what they're going to be and what kind of fan base they're creating. And because again, their most passionate fan base, their most visible fan base, their biggest spending fan base is the one that's old, is the one that comes from an old era. And they're at this crossroads now with how they're presenting their product, how they're giving it away for free in chunks and portions and playing to the audience that it's in. It's like, you don't see soap operas doing that, and you don't see sports doing that, and they continue to thrive and move on. And you're kind of a hybrid between those two things, and you're kind of giving up the ghost right now. And you have given up the ghost, it seems, for a lot of people. So I'm surprised those people that want to fight about the ratings just don't latch on to the truth. Hey, look, you are the number one non-news show on cable TV. Be happy with that. But the numbers and the atrophy in the demographics, I mean, that's really inarguable. No matter how you cut it, you can't argue that. Be happy with the glossy number one that you have.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the air. What's going on?
This is Jim from Virginia.
Hello.
So I saw where B. Priestley is going to have signed a deal with Stardom. For those exclusively, well, I understand it.
Exclusively with Stardom?
Well, it said that she signed a deal, and I don't know if it's exclusively. I may have misspoke there. But
well, maybe in Japan or something like that, because she's in AEW. She's going to be making appearances there, and if I'm not mistaken, correct? Bryan?
Correct. AEW signed a
getting the scoops from Jim.
Japanese star called, let me see if I pronounce her name, Riho, R-I-H-O. And she's trained by Emi Sakura. So she's been good. She's had good training, and if AEW keeps adding these Japanese women, they're gonna have one hell of a daggone women's.
Hell of a daggone roster. Are you gonna be watching AEW when it launches?
You better believe it.
You better believe it. That's right. How about WOW when it comes back?
Wow, definitely.
Definitely. Can you make it to Ed's show in Vegas coming up at the end of the month? It's all women except for me.
What now?
How about Ed's show at the end of the month in Vegas? You gonna make it to that one?
I think it ought to be good. Anytime it's all women show.
No, I mean, I'm on it too. It's not all women.
All women in one.
It's 95. How dare you?
I did say that.
How dare you?
But you
talk
know,
about Logan Stone like that.
Talking about the Silver King deal.
Yes.
I had a hard time watching that video.
Well, it was a very disturbing video.
Disturbing.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing, and the ref kept going, and do you think now? I've been just thinking out loud here. Do you think there was any real heat between Juventud and Silver King?
No, of course not.
No.
Of course not. Of course not, Jim.
All right. Well, you guys have a good evening.
All right. Thank you very much. Don't let Ryan set you up with calls. It's always it's always going to be a problem there. So Raw tonight in London. This is from yesterday. It's already changed. I'm not making that up. It's a tape show. It's already changed. So it looks like Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Baron Corbin.
Ugh.
It was billed yesterday as Naomi, Natalya, Alexa, and Dana. But I just got a note, which I have not confirmed, by the way, but I just got a note stating that Alexa has been pulled from the advertising. So it may not be that four-way. And then Becky Lynch doing a contract signing with both of her challengers for Money in the Bank. And Roman Reigns on Miz TV. That's a lot of stuff there. But that's all scheduled for tonight. And I believe it starts taping here pretty soon, actually. So that's it. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. This person says, couldn't Silver King have passed away sitting on his couch or at the mall? Serious question. Yes, he could have. But he was being asked to wrestle 3 times in one day at a wrestling event. So that's very different than sitting on the couch or at the mall.
You're right. And you're right about these guys needing physicals. You're right about that. But, again, this is just one of those cases where, and nobody will, because we'll be talking about it probably the next time around, too, where this is a whole learning thing that needs to be brought up and repeated again, right from the physical down to EMTs, ambulance, and just being trained to know what's up and when we're going to have a problem. Maybe they should be teaching that along with some other things in wrestling school, too.
Spurs says, Baron's going to beat Ricochet? I think so. I've been wrong before. But they are advertising future championship matches with Baron Corbin and Seth Rollins. And so my guess is that Ricochet is probably going to do a job tonight. But we'll know soon enough because this thing should be taping at any time. We'll get some spoilers up on the front page at WrestlingObserver.com. And then talk about it tonight with Dave on Wrestling Observer Radio. Make sure you check out last night's Bryan Vinny show, talking NWA World Championship Wrestling. As noted, Observer Live yesterday, talking more about Silver King and a bunch of other shows as well. I guess we'll do the SmackDown preview on tomorrow's show, because SmackDown preview I have is from Sunday, and my guess is the preview will be different by Tuesday, since we're at a 40% delivery rate as far as advertised versus delivered in WWE. So we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank Mike, as always, callers and listeners, everybody in the studio, my main Manscaped man, Dom, everybody else. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.